In Freemasonry, we talk, depending on the jurisdiction, about the ideas of faith, hope, and charity. In other jurisdictions, the kind of triumvirate of core values change and evolve. And in some cases, they're not even distinctly different. There's 7 or 8 different sort of tenets or principles in Freemasonry that become core to their function, or the function of the craft as a way to teach these moral education. So, for our purposes today, though, I want to talk about faith, hope, and charity, and understanding that those concepts, from a traditional perspective, are designed to help inspire certain behavior sets. And I want to take those older ideas and develop them a little bit further for perhaps a modern audience. So, when we talk about faith, we're really talking about the understanding of the divine mechanic, right? So that there is a an order to things in the way the world works, and that order is dictated by your understanding of the supreme being. You can see it in concepts in the Hermetic traditions, like as above, so below. You can see it in concepts like you should go study astronomy, because the way the celestial heavens work is reflected in your own interior. There's a ton of mechanics for the concept of faith, but the that understanding has to move past a kind of I guess, an intellectual take on the idea, like, yes, I understand a sort of conceptual principle, and more to an internal true knowing. And so we have to talk briefly from a epistemological perspective about the difference between understanding a concept and knowing a concept. Um, and faith is really the knowing of that conceptual truth. What does it mean to know a thing internally, deeply, versus to understand its principles? You need to have one. You need to understand the principles in order to get to knowing. Knowing is a deeper sort of epistemological connection with a concept. Now, that said, uh, we start to very quickly get into things like, understanding turns to knowing, and knowing turns into belief. That whole mechanic starts to become a little bit uh, out into the bleeding edge of the study of all of these things. So, and I don't claim to know exactly what's going on in those technical spaces right now in terms of the current research. But suffice it to say, faith is the internalized understanding of the mechanics of the universe working in a certain way. Um, Hope, on the other hand, is um, probably less useful to a modern Mason, which I know sounds weird. Um, Hope is probably better contextualized as optimism, uh, because there's a lot of people that will sit around in hope, wanting things to be different, but not doing anything to change them. And we are workmen. We are folks that take control. So hope is the bastion in my headspace of someone who doesn't have the ability to take action, and we certainly do. With that in mind, a better surrogate for hope as a concept for us is more of an optimism. Like, this specific course of action may not pay off, but in general, we're heading in the right direction. Um, it doesn't necessarily kind of neuter your ability to take action in the same way that just kind of sitting around hoping does or implies. So, with that, so you have faith and you have hope, and now you have charity. And I've done a couple episodes on this in the past. Charity is uh, really about that. From a traditional context, it's about taking care of others in a meaningful way. Like you're gonna feed them, or you're gonna give them money when they need it, or you're gonna take care of them in some capacity. Um, and that's also true with sort of a more modern interpretation. If you recontextualize charity as compassion, it's about really caring for others and respecting their take on life and their place in the world and what's going on. Uh, But what's hard from a charitable context in the traditional take is to understand that that also applies to you internally in your own headspace. So compassion might be a little more of a useful interpretive lens on that old concept of charity. It doesn't eliminate the obligation to take care of others in a tangible context, but it does help perhaps to use some sort of intellectual language about this for how does charity really meaningfully apply out in the world. And so you can ask yourself, it might be part of your natural sort of language, your internal process to ask questions like, am I being charitable in this context? For me, I find it a little more productive to ask, am I being compassionate in this context? It's similar outcomes, but compassion just kind of resonates with me a little bit differently, a little bit more strongly in that knowing space. So with that, those are some modern takes on the traditional faith, hope, and charity that are built into the Masonic sort of set. When you go out into your lodge and you have a different set, let us know what they are, and we'll do an episode on them. We'll do a sort of a modern interpretation of those concepts as well.